We are on and welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Sarah can't be here today. She is a little bit sick, so I've got my eldest daughter here with us, and she's going to ask us some questions. She's just going to talk about things that that she's seen on the news, that she's heard, and she's going to ask me questions. Guys, we're going to try and keep today's video a little bit child friendly and a little bit fun for the whole family. We're going to be talking about current events, and also, guys, if you've got any questions, let us know in the comments below. Remember, we've got two platforms now, so give us a like, give us a share, show your support. So, Layla, do you want to pass me some notes? She's been wanting to do that all day. Right, guys, so I've got my notes. Do you have some questions to ask me, young lady?
Yeah. So, Daddy, what's been happening with the Gibraltar?
So, the question is about Gibraltar and what's been happening. So, it's out in the news today. It's hit the headlines. For those of you who don't know the significance of Gibraltar, Gibraltar is, I want to say, part of Spain. It's part of mainland Spain, but it's obviously part of the British control. Whoever controls Gibraltar controls access to the Mediterranean. And for those of you who've been following this channel and our other platform, they'll know what I say constantly about the British Empire and how they forged their empire by controlling entry points. So, whereas the French Empire, paradoxically, used their might and their empire and built their strength up by controlling and taking great swaths of land, the British Empire said, hey, you know what, you French, go take as much land as you want. We're going to control the entry points and we're going to charge you for using our entry points. So it doesn't really matter in that context who controls the most land. The entry points are always key. Which is kind of the same deal that you've got going on down in the Falklands at the moment. Remember, whoever controls the Falklands controls Antarctica. That's just the way it is, guys, okay? You've got controls of these entry points. So it's in the news now. They're talking. There's negotiations about Gibraltar. And this all feeds into this narrative at the moment, and big things are happening. There's going to be a lot of change in the world very soon, and I feel at the moment we're on a knife's edge, and any little fall, either way, all these areas of contention, the Falklands, Gibraltar, these are the areas that could flare up and cause hostilities between those countries. Have you got any other questions for me?
A lot more, yeah. Is there still a war in Ukraine?
Unfortunately, there is still a war in Ukraine. And to make it as family friendly as we can, there's still people in Ukraine, and that's still going on. At the moment, there's talk in the news about, people are saying that we should send UK troops into Ukraine. Remember, guys, okay, if they're saying it in the news, they've already talked about it in back rooms, and it's going to happen. Remember, there was, I think Germany is the best example. Germany, they said, oh no, we're just going to give helmets and body armour, and now they're giving like long range missiles and stuff. So yeah, unfortunately, that's the world we live in, and there is still a war in Ukraine. It's still going on. There's no sign of it letting up. Things are only intensifying. And as the Russian war machine drives on, the NATO war machine of the military-industrial complex, it's really starting to buckle under the pressure of the Russian war machine. Any more questions?
Yeah. What's been happening in the UK?
In the UK, so something. Hang on. Something I found in the UK. It was out in the news, and I've done a video about this before. I'm not sure if it was on here or other one, but basically, you'll see where I'm going with this. So one of the last, I think, not the last time, but I was travelling back from Ukraine, I think last year, and it was just when Doncaster Airport had closed. So I flew out of Doncaster Airport, but when I was coming back in, Doncaster Airport was closed. So just for context, guys, this is what happened, okay? I went from Kiev to Przemysl on a train. It was like 12 hours, and that cost me like $25. I had, I had a cabin, I had a bed, I could sleep, and that was a 12-hour train drive, and that cost me $25. And the reason we went to Przemysl is because the train lines are different, and you have to go into Poland on the big train lines, and then you have to get off onto the smaller European lines. But anyway, so that was $25 into Kiev to Przemysl. Guys, if there's any Polish out there and I'm butchering that name, I do apologise, but it's a very difficult word to pronounce. So from Przemysl to Krakow, that was another really nice train. It had a really nice restaurant on board where you could go and sit down, you could get food. It wasn't ridiculously overpriced. The train ticket from Przemysl to Krakow was like £15 and that was 4 hours. Okay. I then got to the airport. Obviously Doncaster Airport had been closed, which is the usual airport I go to, so I was thinking, right, do I go to Manchester, and I couldn't get a flight anyway. The only flight I could get that day was to Luton Airport. So I said, okay, I'll go to Luton Airport. So I flew, I can't remember where I flew with, but it was like 58 quid for the flight from Krakow to Luton Airport. Okay, I got off at Luton Airport, and guys, honestly, Luton Airport was the worst managed, the worst run, the dirtiest, the most expensive. Guys, it was just the worst experience of that whole trip I had was being at Luton. Well, up until that point, was the worst experience I'd had up until that point. So when I finally got through the hordes of people, and you know, you can't really complain that there's hordes of people, but what you can complain about is nobody was managing these groups of people. You know, I was looking at the down the aisle, and there was somebody, and there'd be somebody right at the front of the aisle, and they wouldn't be moving, and then there'd be three like, what would you call them, checkouts? They're not checkouts, are they? There'd be three immigration people or whatever they're called. You know, they'd be sat there with nobody in front of them, and the person would be stood there, and nobody was managing the people. It was absolutely carnage. It was terribly run. Anyway, so I got through Luton Airport. It was a bad experience. I got to the train station. Guess how much it was for a train from Luton to Sheffield? Think about it, guys. I've just been on a 12-hour train that cost me like, I think, $25. I went on a 4-hour train that cost me like $15. Back in the UK now, I'm back to my home country. I'm happy to be home. I'm going to see my my little girl. Guess how much it cost? And bear in mind, the flight was like 58 quid or 48 quid. I can't remember. Guess how much it cost? £148. Guys, I honestly, I didn't have words. I don't have words, but this is the state of the UK at the moment, guys, okay? It's absolutely catastrophic. And then, to add injury to insult, a 28-gram bag of Doritos was £1.40 in the vending machine. Guys, I just wanted to go back to Kiev. Anyway, so that's the state in the UK. Yeah. So in the UK at the moment, they're talking about Luton Airport, you know, and that the UK has the longest waiting times in any European country. Guys, it's terribly run. You know, the train service is terribly run. The you know, the airports are terribly run. The water system in the UK is so close to collapsing. You know, Thames Water's in the news all the time. You know, Thames Water is the canary in the coal mine. Once Thames Water collapses, goes under, it has catastrophic events happen to it. I think all the other water companies are going to follow suit, because the problem is there's no competition with your water. You get one supplier, and whether they reinvest their profits back into their water or whether they just run it till the wheels fall off, it doesn't matter, because they're getting paid the same anyway. Guys, the water system in the UK is an absolute, it's terrifying, you know, and nobody's talking about it. We've got pipes that are over 100-year-old. They're leaking left, right and centre. They're not just leaking outwards, they're leaking inwards, so we don't know what's coming into those pipes. Is it polluted? Is our water clean? I don't know. When I was in Kiev, where I stay, it's just outside, and it's quite off grid, and they have their own water well and they filter it themselves. And when I came back here to the UK and I was drinking tap water, it just felt dirty. And that really is, you know, they're the things we need to worry about in the UK. We need to worry about our utilities. We need to worry about our, you know, our critical infrastructure, because it is being run to the ground, guys. It is, really. What else do we have?
Will Donald Trump be president again?
So will Donald Trump be president again? What do you think? Do you like Donald Trump?
I love Donald Trump.
So she loves Donald Trump. I don't know what that means. Tell me what you think in the comments. My little girl loves Donald Trump. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, it's looking like Donald Trump's going to be president again. And for those of you, you know, we had a lot of comments on our other channel saying, "Oh, Sean, you said this war was going to happen on February." I said no. I said it'll be clear what's happening in February, and it became very clear in February what's going to happen. You know, and I've said this so many times. And you're seeing it now in real times. You're seeing a divergence between America focusing in the Middle East, focusing, you know, in the Middle East, you know those countries I'm talking about, and you're seeing a new focus on the UK, focusing, well, not a new focus, you're seeing the UK focus more now in Eastern Europe. Obviously, only today there was, who was it, hang on. What was it? So James Heppey, who was the, I think he's the old defence minister or something, he said that, you know, the UK should open talks about putting British troops into Ukraine. So I've said this so many times, we're going to see that diversions. America's going to focus in the Middle East, and, you know, the UK is going to focus in Eastern Europe. That's what happened in February. It became clear in February. Those paths were taken, and that divergence happened. Started, and that's what Donald Trump will do. You know, I feel when he gets elected, I feel he will cut funding to Ukraine. But, you know, Ukraine shouldn't worry, because there's plenty of there's plenty of European partners who are there just to take up that slack, and I think it's right that they do that. I don't think America should be the world's police anymore. They've got enough problems of their own. What else have we got, sweetheart?
Will Boris Johnson be president again?
Will Boris Johnson be president again? Well, Boris Johnson was Prime Minister, so it's slightly different. I don't think Boris Johnson will be Prime Minister again. But did you like Boris Johnson?
Boris Johnson's cool.
Boris Johnson's cool. There you go, guys. From an 11-year-old girl, Boris Johnson is cool. So yeah, I don't think Boris Johnson will be Prime Minister again. I think he will, and I think he should make a return to politics. I think everybody wants to see him back. He's got he's got crazy charisma, you know, and fantastic hair. Almost as good as mine, but not enough, guys. I've just noticed the camera's gone a bit down. But yeah, that is it, guys. I think I don't think Boris Johnson will be back as Prime Minister, but I think he will make a return to politics. What else?
Finally, what advice would you give to a little girl who's going to comp next year?
So what advice would I give to a little girl who's going to comp next year? Well, first of all, I'd say nobody, not even me, nobody leaves school and says, you know what, I was too clever when I left school, so you should always try your hardest. Whatever it is, whatever problems you've got outside, whatever things you're thinking of, you know, whatever your friendship groups are doing, when you're at school, you should learn as much as you can from the teachers, and always do as good as you can. Always do as well as you can. Always ask questions. There's only one question, and there's only one silly question, and that's the question you don't ask. I'd say, and that's it really. I'd say make sure you do as well as you can, because you never get a second chance at today.
Okay.
Is that all our questions?
Yeah, it is.
Guys, thank you for watching. If you've still watched for this time, please give us a like, give us a subscribe, go and give us a thumbs up on our other platform, and I will see you guys tomorrow when we're going to do another video in this format. Let me know what you think, and have you got any other questions you want to ask? And she wants to put a thumbs up in. Bring it in. There it is, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.